Hello and welcome to Green Angle, where we examine environmental issues and proffer sustainable solutions. I am Esther Mopariola. A major UN scientific report recently revealed that human activities are causing climate change, which will transform life on Earth as we know it. While scientists advocated the net zero target, which is cutting down carbon emissions and removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by 2050 to reduce effects of global warming, there are concerns on the sustainability of this policy. As the world battles dangerous wildfires, deadly floods, catastrophic heat waves, and unprecedented drought, a major scientific report by the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change recently revealed that the planet is heating up at a rate faster than it was 2,000 years ago. The report also insists that human activities are causing climate change and making extreme weather events more frequent and severe.
This report shows that in all the assessed scenarios, global warming would reach or exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius in the coming 2 decades. However, if emissions are reduced rapidly, and if at the global scale they reach net zero by around 2050, then temperature would be very close to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the mid of the century and would decline lower to that level by the end of the century.
It's clear now, it's getting clearer, that if we insist, if humans insist on depending on the resource that is making the planet uninhabitable, then we may be talking about an end to human presence on the planet.
But it doesn't just end there. There are fears that major coastal cities will soon be underwater due to the rising global temperatures.
Our ocean in Africa are warming faster than oceans elsewhere. Scientists have shown that if we have a net sea level of 1 meter, and the IPCC report does show that sea level rise is going to continue into the future. So if we end up having 1 meter sea level rise, we're going to have the entire coastal region covered in flood. When sea level rises, is bringing salt water into fresh water system. So that even communities who manage to survive along the coast will not have fresh water for drinking.
Lagos, Nigeria's commercial nerve center, is one of the coastal cities vulnerable to climate change. A recent viral video online showed cars and houses being submerged after several hours of rainfall. It's been a week since it's rained in Lagos, and you can see the level of devastation this has caused in this community. Residents here tell me that they fear for the worst that might happen if it rains for just 1 hour. Omoba Kunle Ogumbono is a retired civil servant who has lived in this community for 35 years. He tells me the floods often witnessed in Anifowoshe never happened years ago. He says the drainage channels are old and poorly constructed, which adds to the rather difficult situation.
Over 5 years ago, it's not like this, but this one is getting worse and worse every year. And we try to inform the local government and the state to look at it. But the state said that it's not their own area, it's local government area, which definitely I understand. But we are trying to say maybe the state can help the local government about it, because from this place to local government is just about 2 minutes walk. When they gave the contract to a woman who doesn't know anything about drainage. The Ministry of Environment, we believe that when they give a contract, there must be a site engineer to supervise the work they are doing, and in the conjunction with the community. But the site engineer is not nowhere to be found. And when the community complain, the contractor will say that you are not the one who gave them job.
Many here are often forced out of their homes or are now at the mercy of the frequent flash floods.
I've had to change things in my car more than two times, right? The other time you just have to, okay, the water will keep draining from the car and all that, but that is just unexpected spending. Now, there's nothing like August break again, because you really can't predict when the next rain will come. You really can't predict when the nights that are supposed to be cold will go warm.
However, an immediate past official of Ikeja local government tells me the frequent flash floods in Anifowoshe is an issue that requires the state government's attention.
The challenge we have is that we need a synergy between the local government and the states, because the water is not only the water from an Anifowoshe community. If you move to Awolo way, all the water coming from Komputa village, Simbiat. So if the states, in conjunction with local government, can ensure that the drainage they are doing now is going to go below the drainage from Anifowoshe, so that whatever water that is coming in will flow through Awolowo to Ale.
Nigeria's Weather Forecast Agency recently predicted days of heavy rainfall across the country and chances of increased flash floods affecting roads, settlements, farmlands and bridges. For a mega city like Lagos with more than 24 million people, the state government says it is ready to deal with the challenge before it.
So we are introducing a pumping station in Ilubri Estate to take care of Oroyin Street inside, because the water cannot flow into the lagoon now. Lagoon is higher. So we're doing a pumping station there that will be pumping 24 hours, 18 to 24 hours a day, especially during rainy season. You now pump, you build a barrier, we call it dikes. You now throw the water in. It's when we do it very well, if we do those jobs very well, those people will say, okay, let me pay my tax, these people are doing very well. And then you have money to do that. If you have money, you can do anything. Yes. So we're not complaining, we're doing the work.
Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide act like a blanket, trapping heat from the sun near the Earth's surface and raising global temperatures. Scientists say deep cuts to greenhouse gas emissions and removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere can halt the worsening environmental impacts.
Further investment in looking for new oil fields, new gas fields, new coal mines is just it's like investing in making the wrong investment, because the market space for these resources is going to shrink and will continue to shrink. We should be investing in those things that builds resilience, and building resilience means money, and it means investing on those things that will build the capacity of the nations, of territories, of communities to withstand the ravages of global warming.
But there are concerns that achieving the net zero target by 2050 may not be sustainable.
How much carbon can you take out of the atmosphere? How much mechanisms are we going to have to take out of the atmosphere? So it's there's a power issue involved. I mean, a political power control. Common sense should prevail. Right now, what is prevailing is economic sense. And economic sense is about making profit. And this is why the climate negotiations have failed to achieve real action over the years.
While there are fears that the world would reach the 1.5 degrees by 2030, leading to catastrophic climate disasters, and the United Nations urging world leaders to step up efforts and pursue a more ambitious path for a cleaner and greener world, what remains to be seen is the collective will to protect and preserve this planet, even for the next generation. In the meantime, I had an exclusive chat with the Special Advisor on Drainages and Water Resources in Lagos State, Joe Ibukwe, and he tells me some of the challenges usually encountered to ensure a flood-free metropolis.
I mean, we had stakeholders, we had a retreat with them, and we told them that all the things you see in the secondary channels
and the primary channels emanate from tertiary drains in front of our houses because of the way we live. Because it is we human beings that generate those things. Those plastic PET bottles you see. If you are driving on the corridor, you see them dropping it from their cars as they are moving. People who should know better. Even this plastic paper they used to pack food, they will just be throwing in there. Both of them, plastic PET bottles and that takeaway plates, are the biggest problem that we have. And look, you have the resources, the capacity and capability to do that job. Just make things easy for us. Even if all the residents can stand in front, just in front of their house and evacuate their drains, Lagos will be clean. And the markets generate lots and huge thousands of tons of refuse. You know, they come to the market and go. It is not their house. They go. Management is also an issue. Done it in those days. So, because there's no value placed to plastic, it's cheap. Everybody's now everything plastic everywhere. We're getting to that. If the companies that produce these plastics and those who use it cannot come together and see how they can help, the government will have no choice because of the coastal nature of Lagos. So they will have no choice. So we're engaging them. It's going to be a collective, responsibility, a kind of synergy. We're building synergies, on how to deal with this challenge. It's a big challenge. Because like I said, you clean a drain today, primary channel or secondary channel. It only rains when you get there. You won't believe that you walked there before. It will just come again. So somebody is responsible. The residents, the tenements, and people living in the 57. They must take it. Let me emphasize it so that they will know. Local government must take up this responsibility and make things very easy. It's a symbiotic relationship. Do your own and we'll do our own. Just get it out of the drains. We evacuate. You don't need to hire people to do it if there need be, but you do advocacy. You go to tenements, you call a meeting, you don't even need to speak from house to house. We have managers, estate managers. We speak to them. We have resident associations, we speak to them. This is the way to go. Advocacy. We talk and talk. One day, people will learn the art of keeping their environment clean. We have what we call a FAG gang, a FAG. It's emergency flood abatement gang. You see them in yellow top, all over Lagos, this certain. So I was coming this morning, I saw them in Adelabu, Surere, where I live, and I'm going to draw their attention to go to Mile 2. Mile 2, if you are going to Oshodi, if you descend that bridge on Mile 2, heading to Oshodi, you will see sailed that filled up. So they go all over Lagos. Last Monday we were in Ireland, mountain of refuse, all over. Just what we see. So, FAG we expect that they will do about 100 kilometers drains, measuring a distance of 100 kilometers. Clean up, and as you clean, those things continue to come. And then we are not mindful of the fact that there are some areas you are not supposed to live, low-lying areas. You find them in Owode, Ewaya, Makoko, Badia, Ijora, Isalu, Water, and Shibiri. These are areas you're not supposed to. People are living there. They don't look at, some of them have houses, what you call, some of them is just shanties. If you move them away, they still come back. They will come and plead. But what you should know is that nobody gave them permit to live there. Those areas have been classified as a low-lying area. They're not supposed to be there at all. So, but they still go there. They're encroaching on our setbacks in these canals that it makes it almost impossible for you to put your swamp buggy in and then have the trucks to park by the side to take those things away. People are encroaching every day. We are dealing with the issue. I think that this year government voted some millions, to take those infractions. You continue to explain. You continue to talk to people, engagement. We are engaging Lagosians on how to live. Lagos generates about 13 to 15,000 tons daily. And we need to take it. Like Tunji Bello said, when you take off, you must take it somewhere. These are refuse dump here is filled up. In the next 2 years, we won't use it again. So we're negotiating with the state to get another refuse dump. Get a land. So that is the duty of government. We're just telling you the challenges, not that we are giving up. We want you to do the job. Because problems are part of life. As long as you have human beings, they will continue to generate waste. They will continue to be, create jobs for government to do. It's when we do it very well, if we do those jobs very well, those people will say, okay, let me pay my tax. These people are doing very well. And then you have money to do that. If you have money, you can do anything. Yes. So we are not complaining. We are doing the work. 24/7, we are doing the work.
Green Angle returns after this break. Stay with us. The United Nations Environment Programme says air pollution alone leads to 7 million deaths each year, and young children are especially vulnerable to environmental risks which can affect their survival and well-being. Following this concern, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency sealed some metal factories in Ikorodu for polluting the environment with industrial emissions.
These are some pictures coming from a community affected by industrial air pollution in Ikorodu. It's a situation most of the residents say they've had to contend with while being exposed to its many health and environmental hazards. Following this concern, the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency made an unannounced visit to some metal factories in Ikorodu and sealed some premises for violating the rules on industrial emission control.
We do not want our children to grow up having been exposed to all sorts of pollutants and carcinogens. So apart from environmental impacts, there are also health impacts associated with air pollution. Lagos State Ministry of Environment, through its agencies, is set by the directive of Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to protect and stop practices that affect the environment negatively.
Some of the factory workers were caught on camera without protective gear, and others complained of being overlabored by the employers.
They know what they're supposed to do. They know that we need all those things. The contractor pays me 800 per 6 hours.
Shortly after, some of the residents of the community were pleased with measures taken by the agency, but aren't satisfied in spite of their gratitude.
Our chimneys over there, at times they will neglect the chimneys and all the smoke will be passing under the iron sheet there. So and when we investigated why they are doing that, They said it's better to do that than allowing the smoke to go through the chimney. We try our all possible best, whatever the complaint we see, to make it known to you people.
Just some yards away, you'll be surprised for what you are seeing, from what is coming out from this iron industry. And I'm happy that you people are here to see for yourself, and the government be able to work on it.
In the meantime, the agency asked residents not to fail to report cases of environmental infractions and reaffirmed its resolve to ensure a sustainable and healthy environment for its citizens.
Not the staff of LASEPA, can you give us some space? And then we are talking on that.
Transportation, power, industrial activities and waste management has been identified as the 4 major contributors to air pollution in Lagos State. As part of activities to mark International Day of Blue Skies, experts at a webinar organized by the state's Ministry of Environment highlighted strategic measures and policies that can be adopted to ensure everyone breathes clean air in the populous state.
The implementation of BRT, mass transit system, is designed to reduce the number of private and public vehicles on the road by transporting more people from one point to another in good time. This initiative is expected to drastically reduce vehicular emissions, thus reducing contribution of the road transport sector to air pollution. What about the blue and red line light rail mass transits? We've started so much work and construction is ongoing for some rail projects as I speak, and the initiative is expected to reduce vehicular traffic on the road, thereby reducing vehicular emission. We have a day we call Tree Planting Day, 14th of July every year. We have an agency called Lagos State Parks and Garden, LASPAC. The tree planting and greening of open space actually gave birth to that agency, and it was an offshoot of one of the climate change summits that we had. It was mentioned that we need to have a dedicated agency to look after the greening of our open spaces and to plant trees.
In Nigeria, we can't control air pollution from the generators if we don't have the structure, even in Lagos, and if this is not fixed. So we can't begin to say, oh, they do, let's make sure people don't have your generators, don't do this, don't do that, without putting some of these infrastructures in place. And we can't force people to buy in the expensive electric vehicles. I know that a lot of conversation around electric vehicles as well has been going on as a way to reduce emission or to keep it to almost zero. But the truth is, these cars are still very expensive. Maybe in the next few years, they will start to drop in price. But how can a lot of us afford this if we don't begin? So we now have to look at our own, look inwards and look at how we can. And I know that the PS also mentioned it. We already have systems such as the BRT that we can begin to look at that would reduce our dependency on a lot of private cars being on outside and driving.
Air pollution is the world's largest environment risk, health risk, killing an estimated 7 million people every year. And air pollution is probably affecting every organ of your body at every stage of your life. The COP26 Climate Summit will bring together parties to accelerate action towards the goals of the Paris Agreement and the UN Framework Convention of Climate Change. In the final run-up to COP26, we will use the power of a fair and inclusive presidency to bring governments, business, civil society, and indigenous peoples together to drive action across key sectors of the economy, to reduce emissions, to mobilize finance, to adapt and build resilience to the effects of climate change, and to make real progress in the largest emitting sectors of power, road transport, and land use.
end game of this is to come up with a climate action plan for Lagos, LCAP. The truth is that air pollution is one of the greatest killers of our age. We cannot separate the health impacts of air pollution from other causes of death. And we all know that Nigeria signed several protocols, and we have national determined contributions that has spoken about how to curb global warming and climate change and air pollution. This discussion should help us focus on Lagos determined contribution. Let us start from home, but if we can start to measure indices and reduce carbon footprints in Lagos State, then I think Nigeria would go on.
And that's about it on today's show. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. And that's about it on today's show. Until I come your way next time.